I really kind of regret not looking at my hair before I started. Oh well. Okay. Very lopsided looking. There we go. Good enough. Okay, so welcome to the live. I'm just popping in. It's Saturday night. Yeah, it just turned nighttime. It's 5 o'clock here in Vancouver, so it's right before Christmas. Christmas is in what, 4 more days? Wow. All my shopping's done as of yesterday. I just have to wrap a few things. So I already got the big stuff done. It was just the throw-ins that I was working with. There we go. Okay, so welcome to the live. I'll just wait till I get a few more people in here. I don't know if anyone's going to turn up or hardly anyone because it's Saturday night before Christmas, but it's still early. So, okay. What's I got to do here? Okay, I'm just waiting for people to turn up. Rainy and cold here. Vancouver. Hasn't snowed yet. We don't always get snow here in Vancouver, and if we do, it's maybe for a week. It was interesting. I just heard the other day that, Vancouver gets a bad rap for being super rainy, but New York gets more rain than we do. There's a lot of other cities that get more rain. I don't know why we've got this image of it doesn't rain constantly. It does rain a lot though. Okay, so let's get going with the live. I don't expect to get many people tonight. That's okay. I thought I'd do a pop in, see how you're doing. So my name's Lisa. Welcome back. I'm a mom, a grandmother, and I'm also a parenting coach. And that's why I'm here. And that's why you're here. You're not here because I'm a mom or a grandmother. Okay, so I'm going to do the best to answer your questions. You can check out BratBusters.com if you want to know more. The free behavior board is like a mini parenting course. It's got a toddler section on it too, but the behavior board doesn't start until 3. And you can look into my courses, the boot camp courses, or coaching. I have a big wait list, but I just finished up with a bunch of clients this week, and I'm not scheduling anything till next year now. So I'm going to take on a few more clients this weekend. So that's good. Okay. Okay. I think I know what you mean, Bethany. This is on YouTube. Hello, I've been trying to catch one of these. Oh, alive. Okay, I'm curious about how you would reestablish one more with an almost 3-year-old. Life got busy and the one more concept got thrown out the window. What do you mean by one more? Are you saying one more or they're saying one more? I don't know what you mean. And one more what? So yeah, you're going to have to elaborate on that. That could be interpreted many different ways. So, it's funny. Every so often one more episode. So they're saying that. Yeah, if you've already said that's it, you got to stick to it. No, 1 more minute, 1 more episode, it's all over. Yeah, the only reason they're asking is because they're used to you giving in. Okay, I'm going to read out something that I thought was really profound. Something I came up with. I never come up with anything good. It's always stupid. Every time I come up with an analogy or a saying, it's always ridiculous. But anyway, this one I thought was really good. And it really resonated with more than one client. Usually I'll come up with something and I'll think, this is it. This is the tagline that everyone's going to go, oh, I get it. But yeah, this one's actually resonating with quite a few of my clients. So I'm going to read it out. I came up with this the other day. And they went, wow, I get it. And then I tried it on a few other clients and they liked it too. So usually everyone reacts to something different, but this one's unanimous so far. Here's my saying, because I talk about being a calm leader for your children. And I say, you can't fight with a calm, loving person forever. So if you stay calm and loving for a long period of time, your kids will eventually give in. They can't fight with you forever. It's just impossible. The problem is that a lot of parents are consistent for a short period of time. They don't wait until that golden time when everything sort of settles down. And kids often get worse before they get better. So if I'm teaching leadership here and you're exercising some of my methods and it's not working, you just haven't done it long enough, or you're missing something, you're doing it wrong. I don't know. But yeah, you can't fight with a calm, loving person forever. Eventually you have to give in, right? Does that make sense? Is that profound? Does that resonate? Or is it one of those things that just so often I come up with stuff, it's so dumb. Anyway, I like that one. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. 5-year-old, 5 and 4-year-old been fighting lately. I don't always witness the argument. And he said, she said, situation to a hand. Okay, so you can just say, okay, fine. So just go to your separate rooms for an hour or whatever. Keep them separate. They don't usually like that. Or you just take one of them out with you And by the way, that's not timeout. They're going to their rooms to play. It's not like they have to just say, you have to stay separate. So if you're going in your room, they can stay out here for an hour, vice versa, go back and forth. They got so sick of this, they'll end up getting along. Or you can just remove them and take them with you. So take turns. Say you stay with me in the kitchen for 10 minutes and then we'll switch back and forth, back and forth. They get sick of doing that. But if you do witness the fight, obviously, but be careful who you punish. Often the one who hits is the retaliator. They're actually the victim. They're not what's it called? Perpetrator. Yeah. I was going to say the prosecutor. I don't know why I was going to say that. Okay. Can you elaborate on leadership skills for a parent? I have a military background and I can't lie that experience to my parenting. I can't tie that experience. Okay, you think about it this way. Have you ever had a really good sports coach or a teacher, someone that you look up to who brought the best out of you? They weren't yelling at you. They weren't ordering you around, but they just brought out the best in you. You wanted to please them. That's what I teach. I don't teach. You don't yell. You don't really give kids orders. You just set out some rules and boundaries, and it's up to them to follow them. Whether or not they follow them or not is totally up to them. But if they don't, then there's a consequence that's done by you. And you're on there too. The difference between an authority figure and a leader is also accountable. So if I make a mistake as a leader, I also have to have consequences. That's the difference, is you're teaching through leadership, not through dictating. Monkey see, monkey do, because they're watching you, right? Okay. This grandma appreciates your advice from one grandma to another. Thanks, Judy. Texas. I've had a lot of clients from Texas. Dealing with 2.5-year-old grandson that I have on weekend. Yeah, I don't really teach grandparenting. Sorry, but I don't. Because if I tell you something and the parents don't like it, see what I'm saying? Yeah, I only teach parenting. I'm very careful about that. Okay. It's kind of a long question, but I'll read it because you bought the course and I want to make sure that it's clear. I'd love to hear your advice for raising almost 3-year-old twin girls. I've been working on consistent corrective action. I bought your boot camp for when they turn 3 in February. Okay, that's good. So that's the course coming up. You have to wait till they're 3, maybe a month under. My husband is also deployed and we're isolated out here in Guam. Any help is appreciated. Yeah, that course is a 5-week program. It teaches you how to be a leader. All it is really is teaching you how to be a leader. The kids will eventually come on board, but it's going to take time. You lead first and then they follow. You don't lead, then they follow, lead, follow. It doesn't work like that. You lead consistently over a period of time and they will eventually follow. That goes back to that really profound statement I just made up. Well, I think it's profound anyway. I don't know if it's profound. It's a good one. You can't fight with a calm, loving person forever. If you're calm and loving, eventually your kids will give in and everything will be lovely. That's the idea behind that. They'll eventually give up because kids, especially past the age of about 3 and 9 months to 4 years old, they only do what works. And if fighting ain't working, they're not going to do it anymore. Anyway, I'm just going to yabber on about this for a second. I went to Costco this morning and they're open at 8 for a few weeks or something. So anyway, I got there at 5 to 8 thinking, I'll be the first one here. How silly. It was like 100 people in a lineup waiting to get in. It was bedlam. And then we all rush in through the door. But you know what I did? I was smart. Once in my life. Anyway, I decided I'm not going to go in and start shopping. I'm going to go and head to the very back of the store first and then work my way back. And I was against the crowd the whole time. They were all starting at the start. So I just beelined it. And it was funny because all the staff were coming out of the staff room at the same, and they all looked exhausted and they hadn't even started their day. They knew it was going to be a crazy day. Yeah, I thought that was pretty clever. Good morning. I don't know where you are, Nook. Good morning. You could be anywhere, really. Yeah, it's nighttime. It's 5 o'clock at night here in Vancouver. Okay, how do you handle 10-year-old who swears? No, you don't ignore swearing. Tantrum, because you said, do you ignore it like you would a fit? A fit, scene, meltdown, or tantrum is not bad behavior. It's a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. Swearing is bad behavior. So I put no swearing, no bad words, no name calling, something like that on the behavior board. And there's a consequence when they do it. So yeah, there's a difference. A fit is not bad behavior. It's an outburst and not getting their own way. And you don't deal with that. let them figure it out. This is funny. I'm gonna tell you a story. This is Patty. How to deal with a tantrum from an almost 4-year-old girl, taking her clothes off when she's upset. When to ignore and pretend like I'm busy, when to be firm. If she's just taking her clothes off, who cares? That reminds me of a client, and I got permission to tell this because it's quite specific. They'll know who I'm talking about. So I can't remember the age or anything, but their little kid, whenever he gets mad, he takes his shoes off. No matter where they are, if they're out, he just instantly takes his shoes off. I'm mad, and he takes his shoes off. I thought that was so funny. So she's kind of similar. It's like a protest. You want my clothes on? I'm taking them off. They haven't got much control, so they take it where they can, basically. Yeah, just let it go and then get her clothes back on afterwards. I thought that was funny. I'd never actually heard that before, that when a kid gets mad, he takes his shoes off, no matter where they are. I want to see the behavior board. Well, look it up. It's actually a mini course. You have to make it up yourself. It's not, I don't have a board. I used to have one that I showed, but I don't know. Oh, it was always backwards writing, so I never bothered. Anyway, all it is a board full of rules and consequences, one for everybody in the family, 3 and above. Burnaby, BC, hello. I do get recognized pretty much every day I go out, but most of my clients don't live in Vancouver, so I haven't had a client in Vancouver in years. Oh, even in public, pants and shirt. Oh no, that's something I would keep their clothes on. Yeah, I would just I would stop them from taking their clothes off, but I wouldn't look at them or talk to them. I would just physically restrain them from undressing in public. That's all. But yeah, you don't look at them or talk to them. It's going to get uglier. Yeah, but that's the whole point. The bigger the storm, the bigger the lesson. If you're afraid of the storms, the fits, the scenes, the meltdowns, and tantrums, they're in charge. Can't show any fear. Can you imagine if adults did that? I'm mad. Rip. It's funny what kids do. Often in coaching, I love coaching, and often I'm laughing, and the parents will tell me something they're really upset about, and I'll be laughing. Think about it. Kids are funny. Like, imagine just taking your clothes off in public when you're mad. That's funny. Not when you're going through it. I get it. You signed up for the behavior board. We've got a whole thing in it. It's a mini course. You look at it. They go back and look at what you did, because it does work. Every single day we get people signing up. So it does work. You just haven't probably confirmed your subscription or something. You have to go through steps. You see, we have like a third party delivery system. Do you know it's illegal to receive emails and send something out without waivers and all sorts of agreements and all that? It's against the law to do that. So you have to jump through a couple of hoops to get that behavior board. It's just the way it is. So yeah, go back and check it out. It works. If it doesn't, try it again, and in a day or so, let us know, and we'll look into it. And whatever. Okay, this is such a good question. This is from Allison. If you have multiple behaviors that you're trying to work on, how do you determine which one to put on the behavior board? If you're doing it with me, and if they're younger kids, if they're teenagers, not at all, but if they're younger kids, we'll put the hardest one on the board the first week. But if you're doing it on your own, pick an easy one. You're just learning how to do this. You're learning how to lay down a rule and a consequence. That's all. It's all for you. You're learning how to be a leader. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. So I'm teaching you leadership skills. That's all that behavior board is. I would never use a behavior board. It's a teaching tool. Like, I want those kids looking right at me, not at a board. But when you're learning how to do this, you want that triangle kind of thing. You, the kid, but then you want them looking at the board. So yeah, just pick an easy one you think you can master. And one behavior at a time, one per week. You did confirm, we'll give it another try. Yes. Every time we've looked into it, every single time, the client has always punched in the wrong email address, or there's always something that was done wrong. I don't know if it's ever happened on our end, because it's a system, right? There's no human error in ours, just because it's all automated. But if it doesn't work, give it another go, and we'll let you know. Okay. Would it be possible to message you privately? No, I don't have time for that. That's coaching. If you want my one-on-one undivided attention, you have to hire me for coaching. That's it. And I've got a wait list for that. If I was to answer all the DMs and everything that come my way, I wouldn't get any sleep, for one thing. Yeah, no, I don't do that. Okay. One thing I want to emphasize too is whenever I do these lives, it's all about discipline, but that's not what I teach. I teach how to connect. Without the connection, the discipline does not work at all. Does that make sense? You got to connect with them. I'm going to read out, this is which stage did I talk about? I'll talk about toddlers. This is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words. They're about actions and fun. So yeah, you don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill. You watch them play and join in, basically. Number 4 is similar. You discipline a toddler in their world. They're not about words. They're about actions. So you use consistent corrective actions, and you've got to be consistent. And the last one is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in here. So they're just forming, okay? People tend to expect too much from toddlers. You tend to want to reason with them like they're developed, fully developed. They're not yet. They don't really possess the ability to stop and think before they act yet. They can, but it's a slow burn with them. Okay, they work mostly on impulses. Ooh, that looks like fun. I think I'll do it. So, ooh, that hot oven looks good. They don't think that they got burnt yesterday. They might, but yeah, you tend to expect too much from them. Okay, actually, I have to move over to Instagram now because I got to kind of get going here. Knowing their love languages as well, someone said their love language is fun. Toddlers especially, their love language is fun and playing. It's not discussing feelings and emotions. Like it's just garbage. I know it's trendy, but it's garbage. They just want to play. Okay, so I'm going to move over to Instagram now, but I'm on YouTube the whole time. Check out BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, which is a mini course that has a toddler section on it now too. Or you can look at my boot camp courses. I have 2 of them. Or you can look at private coaching. I do have a wait list for that, but I just finished up with a few clients this past week, so I'll be taking some new people on. It's a big list right now, but I'm not scheduling till next year anyway. So anyway, okay, so thanks so much for joining me, and I'm heading over to Instagram, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. So I've got my washing machine going. I do have a separate room I could use as an office, but I don't like using it. I like to be in the main area here. Actually, my second room, it's like a second bedroom. It is, it's got the best view of the city. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I never go in there. No, what a shame, eh? It's just right there, but I just never go in there. I tend to use it. Okay. It'd be a perfect office. It'd be wonderful. But yeah, I never use it. I like to be out in the main area. Okay, so I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. It's Instagram. Everyone turns up really fast on here, all at the same time. It's bizarre. It's the only platform that happens. Is it true that TikTok's not going to be in the United States in the next few months? Is that just a rumor that I heard? I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to talk about that on TikTok in case they shut me out. So that's why I'm talking about it here. I don't know. We just heard that they're going to be banned and that TikTok's going to be banned in the United States, evidently. I don't know. Okay. And that's like, I've got like 750,000 followers over there. I'm sure a lot of those are American. Okay. My 3-year-old keeps pulling her hair out because she's stressed out. How do I redirect? Oh, that's the self-harming stuff and habitual stuff. Get her something else to do. Every time she goes to pull her hair, say, here, do this instead. Give her something else to do. Or you can tie her hair back like this. You know, I don't do mine because I pull my hair out, but you get what I mean. Oh yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach, a mom and a grandmother. If you go to BratBusters.com, be careful with that, by the way. I've got a big following, and there's a whole bunch of imposters out there using my videos, my identity, and they're taking money from people, and then they can't deliver because they're not me, right? So they're They're selling coaching and everything. I can't stop them because they're all over the world, and there's no way I could stop them all. But be really careful. My website is BratBusters.com. It's not .ca, not .net, none of that. So anyway, just be careful with that. It's in the link above anyway. So it's frustrating when people are using me to steal money, but happens all over the world and lots of different things. Okay. You're the best in a funny way. I do like to be funny. That's my thing. But I'm here to teach you stuff. So, but yeah, humor is what makes my life worth living. I love humor. Okay. Do you know not everybody does? I've met people who are very serious and have no interest in humor. I've literally met people like that, and throughout my life, no judgment. It does not excite them in any way. Laughter is not joy for them at all. And isn't it interesting? They're often real scholars and learners and philosophers, but they don't tend to laugh. I always find that fascinating. Yeah, we never become friends because my whole life revolves around arm farts and giggling. So that's my whole life. Okay. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but I have no filter. Okay. Okay, this one's quite easy, actually. How do I stop my 1-year-old from throwing food on the floor at dinner? Every time they throw it on the floor, you just pick it up, you say no, and then you pick it up and you throw it away, then you hand feed them. So you don't give them any food to throw. And they're going to have a fit. No, they want to feed themselves, right? So they, okay, all done, wipe them up and get them down. They're going to have an absolute fit. Just give it a couple minutes, wait till they calm down, maybe redirect them a little bit, put them in their chair, give them something to eat, just a little bit this time, give them something to feed themselves. Every time it goes on the floor, you do that process. But there's no yelling or anything. It's just they'll eventually learn, but hand feed them. So. What age do you start disciplining like they know cause and effect? You mean they understand that if they do something, there's going to be a consequence? That's 3. That's the behavior board. Starts at the age of 3. 3-year-old suffering from separation anxiety from mom. Can't even walk from one room to another. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna call that one and say that there's something else going on. Yeah, it's just control potentially. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, if it's a huge problem, you'd have to hire me for coaching. I'd have to assess that, but I have my ideas of what else is going on. But I wouldn't call that separation anxiety. We don't have TikTok in India. A lot of creators lost their followers. Oh no, I will lose a lot for sure when TikTok, if it ever is taken away from different countries. That's okay. That's why I'm diversified. What do I do when my 6-year-old shouts at me disrespectfully? You're going to hate me. That's a tell. It means that you're not a leader. So you got to work on your leadership skills. It's just a sign that they don't respect you. You can't demand that. You have to command it. So you got some work to do on yourself. We're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents. Check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds. That might be a good fit for you. Yeah. I always suggest people start there, unless you're in crisis or you got teenagers or something. Do you know I started my business doing teen crisis work? That's my favorite age, is teenagers. And then I was introduced on the nightly news. I used to be like the parenting expert on the news. And so anyway, they introduced me as the crisis queen. I don't want to be that. I want to be fun. Like I want to prevent that. I didn't want to be this depressing crisis queen. I mean, they didn't know that, right? It wasn't their fault. But yeah, I thought, yeah, so now I'm just focused on preventing all that. I still do crisis work, but I don't lead with that. Yeah, you want to avoid all that stuff. You do not want to hire me when your kids are teenagers. It's just that much harder. You want to sort things out now before they're teenagers. But it's doable, but it's a lot harder. There's a lot of negotiating that goes on with teenagers. My 2-year-old starts having tantrums every time I go shopping. I get embarrassed and I don't really do it anymore. Yeah. In my courses, I think I put it in both my courses. I can't remember. Anyway, shopping with a toddler. I know it's in the Toddler Bootcamp course. There's a whole section on it because it's that big of a deal. Okay, I'll go into my spiel about this. This is what I did with my kids. They didn't know any different Like they didn't know there was no other option other than sitting in that shopping cart seat. So they never ever would expect to walk beside the cart, the shopping trolley. That's one thing. 100% consistent. They were never allowed to walk beside. They always had to get in that seat. They didn't always like it, but that's where they sat. Also, I had a goodie bag, and it was called the shopping goodie bag. They only got that when they were sitting up in the cart, and I changed it out every single time we went shopping. I just had a basket full of cheap little toys and puzzles and stuff, and I'd throw it in this goodie bag, and they'd open it up, and ooh, something new. They had little healthy treats. They had a sippy cup, and they had little puzzles or whatever and toys to play with. So I was meeting their needs because shopping's pretty boring. They hate it, right? Because it's boring, but not if you have the goodie bag. Also, I never let them help because I think it's actually kind of mean to let a kid help. Because if you let a toddler help you with groceries, what about the pickle jar? Are you going to let them handle that? Like, here, put the toilet paper in the back. Yay, throw it in the back. Here's the Kleenex. Yay. And then they're going to have a fit because you don't hand over the pickle jar or the eggs. You're not being consistent. They don't understand that. Right? So think about it. Meet their needs and manage their wants. You're setting yourself up for success this way. Otherwise, you've probably let them walk beside the trolley. You've probably given them nothing to do in the shopping cart, or you've probably let them walk and take stuff off shelves at times, and then they have a fit when they're not allowed to. So it's just a nightmare, right? So yeah, set it up for success. Got your parenting guide for toddlers. It's the best. So is that the free behavior board part or the toddler boot camp course? Jilly Leaps. I like that. Jilly Leaps. Yeah, I do have 2 boot camp courses, but they're so different. The one for 3 to 12-year-olds, it's a 5-week program, how to be a leader. The one for toddlers is more just, if they do this, this is what you do, because they're all so different. You're reacting more to what they come up with. It's more like that. But also there's some other stuff about leadership in there. I started the behavior board, Mackenzie. No hitting is our rule. What do I do if my daughter is screaming and hitting while trying to complete positive consequence? So she's hitting. Well, I almost wonder if you're doing it all too quick. So she hits, and then you say, here's your consequence. Because she's probably hit because she's mad in the first place. I would say, oh, you hit. We'll go to the board later. So I might do it later. Wait till she's calmed down a little bit. And if she hits during the consequence, I would say after she's finished the consequence and she stopped hitting, I'd say, let's go to the board. I would say, the rule is no hitting. You hit, so you had a consequence. Then you hit again during the consequence. So I'll tell you what, we're going to go right to media blackout for 24 hours because of that. Do you understand? So I'm assuming she's 5 and 6 or older. She could understand that. Maybe younger, maybe not. Just let it go. I'm going to address this. I don't recommend yelling or spanking. But Sunday something said, I spank my 3-year-old and I think it works. Am I a bad parent? I'm not judging if you're a bad parent or not. It's ridiculous. But hitting and yelling are 2 things that work in the moment, but they backfire down the road. So it's not a leader. It's a fear-based. Both of those are fear-based parenting methods. They're not leadership. They're more the authority. So yeah, I don't teach that. Okay, you've kind of built this. You're going to hate me for this. Is it normal if a toddler makes a scene at shop, like shouting or hitting stuff at shop if they want something, but we say no? That would imply to me that they ask for something sometimes and you say yes. It's the inconsistency that's causing that. They don't understand why sometimes if they want something, they get it. Like when we went out shopping, my kids never got a darn thing, ever. But when we maybe got home, I might pull something out of my bag that I'd hid and snuck, and you know what I mean? That I'd grab. But I never, when we went out, they didn't expect, that's not a treat if it's a demand, right? So yeah, they just knew. I remember at the checkout, they'd see other kids having a fit and asking for stuff, and my kids were so confused. Like, what are you doing? They didn't understand it because there was none of that with us, because I never gave in to that. So it's they've learned how to do that is what I'm saying. You've taught them to do that. Because you must be buying them stuff every so often. Can I have this? Okay, just this one time. Because you've been such a good kid today. All that. Yeah, you built that. by doing that. I never took my kids down toy aisles. I never let them play with anything at a store. I think that's kind of rude too, because kids are playing with stuff and touching stuff. I think it's kind of rude. I don't want to buy something your kid's been drooling on. Like, it's just, I've actually seen kids riding bikes around stores and then the parents put it back up. I think it's gross. And then they have a fit when they take the bike away. See what I mean? You're just... Well, if your 7-year-old doesn't care about consequences, you just haven't found the right ones. There is always something. I've never not been able to find something. You just haven't found the right one. Or they might just say, fine, take it away. I don't care. They care. You just got to stay consistent. New mother offerings. Your advice is helping so much. Excellent. Good for you. Well, I just give the advice. You're the ones who put in the work. So I had such a good week this past week. So many clients are just doing so great. And that makes me feel great too. So very self-serving. Makes me feel good. I get very wrapped up in coaching. My daughter and I often talk about me quitting coaching because it just takes up so much time. And I don't know how much, I don't know. I just so many other things I could be doing that would be more profitable in the business. But coaching, I love coaching. It's probably my favorite thing in my business. I love it. So I'll probably keep doing it. Oh, if a kid's just shouting at you because things aren't going their way, you just ignore it, say whatever, and then just walk away and do the dishes or whatever. Yeah, if they're 3 and 4 years old, it's a learned behavior. You've taught them to do that. Must bug you. You must address it. I don't address that kind of stuff. Yeah, because then it makes you look like you're afraid of them, and they feel like they're winning. There's lots of options besides media blackout. You've got to find something favorite that your kids love that they do all the time, but never take away love or social stuff. Like if they're going to be seeing a friend, you don't on Saturday, like a play date, don't take that away. I don't want to get into inventing leverage too much because a lot of parents want to go there first. That's why I usually just talk about it in coaching. I have talked about it on lives. If you've seen me on a live before, it might even have turned up in the odd video. It's inventing leverage. It's a little bit different. But yeah, I don't like to talk about it too much because a lot of parents just think, okay, fine, I'm just going to go straight to inventing leverage. As if you come in with this harder stuff, you're going to get better results. No, it's only because when the first easier stuff doesn't work, then you resort to that. So if you've seen it before, already know what I'm talking about. If not, I just don't want to get into it tonight because I'm on a time crunch too, and it takes a bit of time to explain that. What if your child likes the cleaning consequence before the blackout? Well, there's 2 answers to that. One is that they don't have to hate the consequence. They did something bad, now they're going to do a good deed because of it. So even if they kind of don't mind doing it, they kind of like it. By the way, they usually only like cleaning until they're good at it. But anyway, or else the other one is just find something that they really don't like cleaning. Kids don't usually like cleaning out window tracks. That's one thing kids don't usually like doing, or cleaning out toothpaste. Like having to scrub the toothpaste out of the sink. What's another one? Stuff like that. The shower tracks, anything like that. They don't usually like doing that. Or cleaning the top of baseboards, the dust. So there's certain things they usually don't like doing. But if not, don't worry too much about it. If it's working, fine. If not, then come in with something harder. Any other tips other than using a leash on toddlers that run? What do you suggest? Are there any other tips besides strapping a child into a car seat? Restraint is the only thing you can do. So yeah, I don't know what you want from me. Like I can't, well, what do you suggest? If you can't restrain them from running, what are you going to do? They don't listen to you and you don't want to restrain them. What other options are there? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, can tantrums be a learned behavior if toddler is around other toddlers who constantly tantrum? 100% no. Absolutely not. It's a loss of emotional control at not getting what you want. How on earth could you pick up that from someone else? It's impossible. Yeah, no, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I've been working with kids for 53 years now. I've never seen it. They might try. Oh, they get bored and no. They can't force themselves to lose emotional control. This is Meg's son. Okay. My 3-year-old says, I'm so mad at you when I say no, then continues into a tantrum afterwards. I do my best to ignore, but she asks for a hug. I'm beginning to think it's a manipulation tactic. Don't begin to think it. Realize it's a manipulation tactic. And there's no way that I would give a kid a tantrum after a hug after a tantrum. I would just say, you're all right, because a hug is good tantrum. Good. It's validating the whole tantrum. So yeah, when they've come off the tantrum, I need a hug. You're all right. Let's go read a book. Something like that. You're all right. Let's go read a book. There's no way I would go into that pity. It looks like you pitied them. No way. So yeah. And if they say, I'm so mad at you, whatever. Like, don't get pulled into that. So don't begin to think it's manipulation. Realize it's 100% manipulation. Yeah, ignoring my 14-month-old when he screams makes his screaming worse. I say at about 16 months, you really start ignoring. Under that, you can use diversion. So if he's screaming, you might go over somewhere and start reading his book out loud to yourself. Oh, and the fox jumped over that, and they did that. No, I think I'll play with these blocks over here. You can try stuff like that. Nothing's going to work the first 10 times. It's just a slow burn with little ones. Oh, I got to move over to, where am I going? TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, do so. It's BratBusters Parenting. If not, thanks very much for joining me. You can check out BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board. It's actually a mini course, has a toddler section on it now. Or you can look at my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, that's under 3, and one for older kids, 3 to 12. By the way, 3 to 12-year-olds, that's when you're at the height of your leadership. They want to please you. It's a natural instinct for a child to search out and want to please a leader. They're looking for guidance. They're desperate for it. And then 13 plus, that's coaching, because I don't have a course on that yet. I was going to do a course on that this year, but we got caught up in the podcast. And then now we're probably going to be writing a book next year, unless the podcast keeps going like it is. The podcast is kind of going crazy right now. So thanks so much for joining us and for watching the podcast. We really appreciate it. My daughter's my business partner. She's also my best friend. And she does the podcast with me. So, which I'm shocked at. She's very humble. She doesn't like being in front of the camera. She's doing it though. It was even her idea. I couldn't believe it. I said, really? You want to do this? She goes, yeah, I think someone has to be asking you the questions, Mom. May as well be me. I said, okay. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm heading over to TikTok. Happy parenting. Okay, sorry, YouTube. TikTok takes forever. So many buttons to push. Yeah, if I lose the American TikTok people, that's, I'm guessing 500,000 people would be American on TikTok of my followers. That'd be a big, that would hurt. That's okay. That's why I'm diversified. Okay, I'm just waiting for people to turn up. TikTok and Facebook, they're very slow to start coming in for some reason. Instagram's fast. Oh, I totally disagree, Giselle. You said, okay, unless he has a learning disability, okay? My 4-year-old has a memory capacity of a leaky bucket. I have learned the hard way that you will end up repeating yourself a lot. I never repeat myself, and they always remember what suits them. So yeah, they have selective memory. There's a difference. Boy, they don't forget what suits them. So yeah, their memory's fantastic. Way better than mine, I'll tell you. funny because a lot of my clients quote that consistent corrective action, but they say constant corrective action. A lot of them say that, and I can see that. But it's funny because it's quite a different word, actually, consistent and constant. Constant implies, and that they probably say constant because they feel like they're doing it constantly. But consistent just means do it every time as needed. But constant sounds like it's 24/7. It always strikes me it's the Freudian slip, right? It's constant corrective action. Okay. How to deal with one tantrum kid teaching other, mostly in car. Yeah, you can't learn how to have a tantrum off someone else. You can learn how to be snotty, how to scream, how to whine, but a tantrum is a loss of emotional control of things not going your own way. You cannot be taught that. It's natural. So yeah, no kid can teach that to another kid that doesn't already have that in them. I already talked about tantrum grocery stores. I just can't do it again. It's in my course, the toddler course, if you're interested. I just can't do it again. I just went into a whole spiel about it, how I set myself up for success in the grocery store with my kids. I'll give you a couple of hints. Never let them help with grocery shopping, and never let them walk beside the cart. You have to be 100% consistent. If you want them in that cart, in that seat, never let them walk beside, because they don't understand inconsistencies. Okay. And also, they don't understand if you can throw a box of Kleenex in the back, why can't they throw the pickle jar in the back? They're going to have a tantrum over that. Loving your podcast, by the way. It's helping so much. I always said coaching is my favorite thing in my business, but I think doing my podcast is probably equal, because I'm doing it with my daughter. And that's like, is this just the most perfect business setup? My business, I teach parenting, and my business partner is my daughter. Like, how perfect is that, eh? And that all happened organically. She was just helping me out on the side. She had a regular corporate job. She's 30. She had a regular corporate job, and she was enjoying it. And she was just helping me out on the side. And then it just exploded. And she said, I think I should come on full time. And I was just waiting. I never said it. I was just waiting for her to say it. I was paying her anyway, but yeah. How expensive should children's gifts be? That's relative. I've got so many really wealthy clients. I've got some who are giving G-Wagons to their teenagers, but if you've got $1 billion, I mean, it's relative. So I can't judge that anymore. I didn't like to spoil my kids a lot. I wasn't one for a lot of stuff with my kids, but it's relative. If your whole neighborhood's, all the teenagers get G-Wagons for their 16th birthday when they turn 16. You see what I'm saying? Okay. You have a podcast? Yeah, it's called BratBusters Parenting, and my daughter and I do it. No, I don't have a book yet. The book was scheduled for next year, because we haven't signed anything yet, though. Thank God, because now we're not so sure. The podcast has just been taking off, and we didn't expect that. So, you got to go with what people are watching. That's why I've canceled my regularly scheduled lives. It's not that I don't enjoy doing them. It's just time. I just don't have time anymore. The podcast, we've doubled that. We're doing 2 of them a week now. And we might even end up doing more. We are putting our time and energy where you are going. You're going to the podcast, so that's where we're putting our time and energy. And a book is never a great financial incentive either. It doesn't always pay a lot unless it's a huge bestseller. It's a lot of work. And we could be putting all that time into podcasting and courses, and you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm just not so sure a book is the way to go. But we would love to do it. We'd still love to do it, but we're not sure if it's instead of a podcast. We can't justify that. So if we've got time, we'll do it. Hopefully next year. And don't ask me about any other books. I've never read a book on parenting your kids ever. I'm self-taught. Kids taught me all this. So I've never read what. I would just roll my eyes the whole time, I'm sure. Not that what they're saying probably wouldn't work for them, but I know I have my own style. So what's it called? The podcast is BratBusters Parenting. The BratBusters Parenting Podcast. What do you think of unschooling? I have no idea what that means, so I can't have an opinion on that. Age from cot to bed. My kids were really young when they went into a bed, because I put them in a bed the first time they ever flopped out of the cot or crib, wherever I live. My kids are raised in Australia. It's a cot over there. Whereas North America, it's a crib. The first time they flopped onto the floor, that was it. I dismantled the crib and I put it just the mattress on the floor and surrounded it by pillows. And it was funny because I don't remember which kid it was, but they got out of bed at one point. I think it was in the morning, and the door was shut, but they couldn't reach it because in Australia the doorknobs are really high, but the light switches are low, so kids can flip on lights from a really young age, but they can't reach the door handle. Probably a better way to do it because doors are more dangerous. Anyway, and I would wake up and I'd hear knocking on the door. It was them. Hello, I'm ready to get up. It was cute. And I'd say, hello, who is it? Okay. Oh, I hate these terms. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know all these terms. Do you support families who have a kid with pathological demand avoidance? Okay, PDA. Now, yeah, I've worked with lots of kids with that, but I don't address that stuff. I just address the human underneath all those alphabet. I call them alphabet kids. Those are all the kids I work with. ADHD, ODD, WXYZ, PDA, ASD. Those are all the kids I worked with. So, but I never address the letters after their name, if that makes any sense. I just connect with the kid. That's all I do. That's what I teach you. Oh, hello, Dot. I haven't seen you in ages. People come and go depending on the age of their kid. They have new babies, but Dot used to be a real regular. I think Dot's left again. I just spotted you a second ago. Plus, I always thought, I didn't understand these lives. I always thought that, I have 134 people here now, but then I'll end the live and there's been 3,000 people in the room. People come and go, come and go, come and go. That's why I scroll through to get to the bottom question usually to make sure you're still here when I answer. So I do skip through a lot of questions. Plus, a lot of them are repetitive. So, and I want to keep it moving, different stuff. So I'm just reading some more questions. Oh, instead of saying, use your words, God, I hate that. You must know I hate that. How would you get a 3 and a 4-year-old to calm down? I don't. That's up to them. When you're a calm leader, it calms them down. You can't force someone else. You can't control someone else's emotions. So a lot of parents try to control their children's emotions. It's ridiculous. If you try and control, like regulate someone else's emotions, it's impossible. There's this saying, help your child self-regulate. God, don't get me started. Anyway, when you're a calm leader, you're following through, you're calm, you're ignoring the tantrums, doing all this stuff. You deal with bad behavior, but focus on the good kid, bringing out the best in them. Their emotions calm right down. That's the way it works. Yeah, that use your words. Ugh, whoever came up with that stupid saying, get down on their level and use their words. Anger, yelling, screaming, kicking, biting, that is their words. They are using them. What a patronizing thing to say. Could you imagine arguing with your spouse and they said, use your words? Ah, it's so patronizing. It's snotty. Oh, I hate it. Okay. Okay, I can't really address this, but I'm going to read it out and I'll tell you why. A psychologist said my 12-month-old had ADHD because she falls over and doesn't cry. Did you take them into a psychologist, or is this a friend who's a psychologist? I don't know. I'm just curious. I don't know much about it. I have a lot of experience with it, but I have no degrees or anything. But that's really young to be diagnosed with ADHD, as far as in my limited expertise. Okay, so a friend of your 8-year-old told her this: if you don't play X with me, I won't be friends with you. Say, okay, we won't be friends then. That's what I would say. I'd call their bluff. It's tough to do, but I would do that because that's a threat. I don't go through with that. No, it was my partner's psychologist. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You know, they're human too. They make mistakes and they get a lot right, and I'm sure they get a lot wrong too. So they're just human. Um, you know, I don't know. Don't get caught up in that though. Don't wrap your head around that stuff. Like what I mean is, so what if let's say they do have ADHD? So those are all the kids I work with. Those are often the entrepreneurs of the future. You might be working for that kid one day. Like, you know, imagine having hyperactivity as a personality flaw. How could you use that as an adult? Hyperactivity, lots of energy. Come on. It can really pay off down the road is what I'm saying. When I was working with kids, I was often handed files to look at because I mothered them. I was like a mentor, a behavioral mentor, right? So I'd be handed a file and they'd say, you might want to look at this. I never, ever opened one file, not one. I thought, I'll figure it out. Like, why do I need to know that? Why do I need to know that they're XYZ kids? I used to call them alphabet kids. They always have all these acronyms after their name. Yeah. Oh, I don't like talking about toddlers hitting. All you do is you say no and you physically restrain them. That's all you do. No, physically restrain them. And then walk away. When they go to hit again, prevent it and say no. You got to do it like 100 times. And they might be good for a week and they might start up again. But I just don't like talking about toddlers hitting. I don't know why. I guess because I get asked it constantly. And I've got lots of videos on that, by the way. So you might want to check that out. I go into more detail. It's just because I've talked about it so much, I can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's like the pool story. I think I'd get a tick if I had to tell that again. I need like a good month between telling that story. Like I have to wait a month before I can tell it again. Just because I've said it thousands and thousands of times. Okay. I'm going to, this is something that I talk about a lot with teenagers, but it kind of applies to adults too. And I say that do not be a right fighter with teens, as you will lose every single time, even when you're right. Think about that. I would say that could probably go with adults too. You can either be a right fighter with people or you can be happy. I used to be a right fighter. I'm not anymore. I've mellowed a lot. My mom used to say alcohol and age are truth serums. The real you comes out. I obviously was very mellow and I'm a follower in my personal life, only in my circle, right? Only people I like and trust. But yeah, I'm not a right fighter at all. I always thought I was. I always thought I was kind of on the feistier side. Turns out I'm not. Yeah, mom always said, whenever you talk about, oh, he's a miserable old coot, he always was. It's just because you have no filter when you get older. You're just who you are. So he always was a miserable coot. He's just showing it now. So yeah, my mom always had funny sayings. Another one that her mom used to have was, if you want to find a sinner, like a serial killer, a sinner, just go to church and look in the front row. That's where they're all going to be sitting. Oh my God. They were very funny too. I thought that was good. Are timeouts good? I hate timeout. I can't stand it. There are 3 things I hate. One of them is timeout. The 3 things that are very commonly used as discipline methods, timeout is number 3. The second one, so I hate it even more, is diversion. You never divert with broccoli. You always divert with, here's some chocolate. You're always rewarding bad behavior with diversion. And number 1 is the one I hate the most. It's the countdown method. When a child is doing something naughty and you count down for them to stop, you're just telling them it's okay to be rotten for the short term, but not the long term. Then they stop and then there's no consequence. And then you reward them for stopping. Yay, you just hit your little brother 20 times. Yay, that's what you're doing. Oh, it's awful. So yeah, avoid timeout. It's horrible. Timeout is, I consider it to be very mean. You go sit over there. You think about what you did. No one wants to be around you. And then I'll come over and give you a lecture about it afterwards. It's ridiculous. I think it's so mean. Imagine if you made a mistake at work and your boss said, you go sit in the corner and you think about what you did. It's humiliating. It's mean. Although I've had so many people say, God, I would love a break at work. so much for that. But you get the idea. It's humiliating. I don't like it at all. It's a fear-based parenting method. I don't know what to do with you. You go over there and think about it. You see, it's not leadership at all. It's fear. I have no idea what you mean by this. So I'm going to read it out just because I don't know what it means. Any advice on helping a toddler with negations? don't know what you mean by that. Don't get fancy with me. I'm not a fancy person. So what is an appropriate discipline? If they're under, oh God, I could go on forever. If they're under the age of 3, you use consistent corrective actions. So every time they do something naughty, you say no, and then you take them away from the fun or take fun away from them. Okay? That's how you handle it when they're under 3. 3 and above, use my behavior board. It's completely free. There's a toddler section on there too, by the way, now. It's a mini course. It's completely free. Go to BratBusters.com and you'll see it there. And it's called the behavior board. So 3 and over, it's because at the age of 3, they have the ability to stop and think before they act. Under 3, not so much. They work on impulses more when they're under 3. Their brain just hasn't developed that reasoning yet, that frontal lobe thing or whatever it's called. I always think of that as that, looks like one of those, that dangly thing in the back of your throat, like a little punching bag, frontal lobe. I've seen pictures of it. It doesn't look anything like that, but I always think of it that way. Yeah, they just haven't developed that yet. And I would say some of the most challenging teenagers I've ever worked with were NAS babies, narcotic addiction syndrome, because one of the lasting effects of being born an addict is that they don't have impulse control. So as teenagers, you can just imagine the trouble they get into. They really struggle to control themselves. So they're probably some of the most challenging teenagers I've ever worked with. No fault of their own. They just don't have impulse control. So we have to come up with some ideas on how to get around that. Okay. Use of no, don't, and do not. I apologize. I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, so they don't want to be told no? Is that what you mean? Yeah, they'll learn. Just keep following me. Check out the behavior board. It explains how you discipline. By the way, I'm just reacting to your questions on these lives, but in coaching, it's nothing like that. I teach connection and how to bond with kids. That's the pool story. It's the very first video here on TikTok, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. It's the pool story. It sums up the way I treat children. I deal with bad behavior, then I focus on the good kid. If kids like themselves when they're with you, you bring out the best in them, they treat you like gold. I used to work with troubled teenagers, and one of them once said to me, I didn't like myself until I met you, Lisa. That was probably the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. I didn't like myself until I met you, Lisa. Wow. That's a leader. You bring out the best in them. You don't want them to be good or obedient soldiers. That's stupid. You want them to be nice people who treat other people with respect. That's what we're after. And that takes high self-esteem to do that. That's all we're after here. So all the discipline, yeah, it's part of it. But if you're not playing with them, connecting with them, having fun with them at the same time, none of this is going to work. Here, I wrote down this thing. I thought this was pretty profound. I keep forgetting to say it, so I obviously don't think it's that great. Anyway, if your kids feel good around you, they're good around you. So if you make them feel good, they're going to be good. If they feel bad when they're around you, they're going to be bad when they're around you, right? A lot of parents just want to talk about the bad behavior. They just can't help themselves. It's a bit of a passive aggressive thing. They want to discuss all the bad behavior. Huge mistake. Deal with it, have a consequence, then move on. Let it go. Kids do not generally act out because they don't understand. They act out because of lack of impulse, or they want to get what they want to get, or you've trained them to keep doing that. But yeah, it's not a lack of understanding that makes kids act out. It's a lack of impulse control. And you're teaching them self-discipline by doing all this. Do you have any tips for media blackout? I don't know what you mean by that, but let's say you've got 3 kids and one of them's got media blackout. So they're like 6, 8, and 10 years old, and only one of them has media blackout. The one with media blackouts gets the run of the house except the master bedroom, or you figure this out, but this is how I teach it. So the master bedroom, and the other kids can go in there and have a smaller screen. The whole family suffers a little bit during media blackout, but that's part of being a family, right? So you say to the other kids, okay, you can go watch your show in the master bedroom on the iPad. Or they're usually quite happy to look at a smaller screen because their sibling doesn't get any, right? So here's the kicker. When you are out there with or maybe one of the parents, if the kids are younger, has to be in the master bedroom at the same time. But anyway, you do media blackout with them. Say, look, you got media blackout for a whole day. I'm going to do it with you. How about we play a game? So you try and connect. Use that time to connect. Often, and then they'll use, I hate you. Fine, then never mind. So, so you say, okay, never mind. Then later on, when they've calmed down, you ready for that game now? You're trying to connect. You're trying to connect, you see. You'll end up, if they're the younger they are, the quicker they're going to play a game with you. You don't play a game for 24 hours, but right after the media blackout, when you've got some time and everything's calmed down, then you try and connect, right? You know what often ends up happening is you end up playing a game with that kid and the other kids come out of the master bedroom and the whole family ends up playing a board game or something. So, but yeah, that's sort of one of my tips for media blackout. By the way, I don't let anybody in on these lives. A lot of people ask to come in. There's no way I would let anybody in. I did it once a couple of years ago. I didn't know what I was doing. It was one of my very first lives. And I had like 20,000 people in that live. And someone said, oh, can I come in? I didn't know what I was doing. I said, sure, come on in. And they just started talking about their business. They wanted to sell to you guys. They were using my live to sell their stuff. I didn't know how to get rid of them. I didn't know what I was doing. I've never let anyone else in here ever. I'm very careful with that. The offers I get, like big money to partner with people in these lives and everywhere else. Do you ever see anyone else in here? Nope. I'm here to serve you, not to make money off someone else. You know what I mean? I do this for free. I guess I just don't think that way too. I never thought that someone would do that. I'm very honest. I would never go in a live and try and sell I'd never try and use someone for my own benefit like that. I was quite, ew, I felt dirty. I felt like I needed a shower after that. I felt so used. What do you do in a 2-year-old that flails, kicks, and headbutts? Okay, you physically restrain them. That's all you can do. And you hold them down at their side, hold them here and here, but like this, down, you're both facing forward. It's harder for them to headbutt, kick, and bite you in that position. Just hold them till they've calmed down, then let go. And then when they come at you again, hold them again. Do not look at them or talk to them. Do not say a word. You just physically restrain them. This is when they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. Don't do that with a teenager. Don't even try. Yeah, it's different with a teenager. If they get physical, you got to go through some holes in walls with teenagers sometimes. Don't get between a wall and an angry teenager. I'd love to tell you this one story, but I didn't get permission to tell it. Yeah, I never use names, but I always like to ask permission anyway. Yeah, I didn't get permission. It's quite funny. A parent went against something I said and paid the price, but I didn't get permission. Darn it! It's funny. They were laughing. Not until I started laughing, and then they laughed with me. How do you help with a teen runaway? You'd have to hire me for that. I can't. There's no quick answer for that. I'd have to assess what kind of parent you've been, what's going on with them. Do they have they been talking to someone online? Have you got the police involved? Have you given the social media to the police? Blah, 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 blah. That's coaching. It's a whole process. I'll tell you something that happened years and years ago, though. I won't tell any details. But yeah, someone's in jail because something the parent said to me. And I just knew right away. I said, that kid is talking to someone online. They're going to take off. Sure enough, they were planning on running away, and it was intercepted by the police, and they had a dummy cop or whatever, and a cop pretended to be this kid or whatever. I don't know how it worked out. But anyway, they caught them. They got on a bus and went to a different state, and that person was picked up. Sure enough, it was not the picture like this guy. The picture that they were using online looked like this gorgeous young guy. Of course, it was a fat old guy. He was trying to pretend he was the grandfather, and he was just going to pick that kid up and take him to this gorgeous young guy. Take her to this gorgeous young guy. Yeah, he ended up in jail. It was wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, you'd want to know what their online activity is. Okay, what time is it? Oh, I gotta go. Thanks so much for joining me on YouTube and TikTok, and I've been on Instagram. I've also been on Facebook, and I always appreciate your spending your time with us. And I always feel like you guys can learn a lot by seeing what other people ask, because you're not the only ones going through all this stuff. Parenting's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and yet you seem to expect yourself to be an expert at it. I don't get that. Parenting does not come naturally. About 100 years ago, that came out, parenting should just come naturally. It did, because they didn't expect much from themselves as parents. Plus, there was a village raising kids. The whole street was raising the kids. They had multi-generational homes. My granny, I grew up, my granny living in the house next door. There was all these people around raising kids. So yeah, it did used to come naturally because no one cared about how well they did with their kids. They were just trying to keep them, well behaved and out of trouble, and that was it. They didn't try for anything else. So, and there was all this support and help. So yeah, parenting is the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training. So why would you expect yourself to be an expert? I don't understand that. Anyway, thanks so much for joining. Maybe it's because peer pressure and other people on Instagram, these pretty moms who make it look all perfect. I happen to know some of the behind the scenes. I happen to work with some of those parents, and the behind the scenes is often very different from what you see on the camera. So yeah, you're not alone. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.